Good day, everyone, and welcome to Sisters Keeper podcast, where we discuss how having a core group of women surrounding you as you navigate some of the important moments in your life's journey is vitally important to all women. I am your host, Dr. C, and for this episode, I have the extreme pleasure of having Miss Nicole with me. Good evening, Miss Nicole. How are you doing?
Good evening, Dr. C. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your platform.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Welcome to Sisters Keeper podcast. On this podcast, we discuss how, as a woman, it is vitally important to be surrounded by other women as we navigate through our life's journey. So, we talk about different topics, and today we are going to explore a topic that I have not explored before, and that is navigating from one continent to another. And I know that you have that experience. So let's just jump right in and tell me, where were you born? What country are you originally from?
Okay. I always say this when somebody asks me where I'm from. I said, do you know Usain Bolt or Bob Marley? And they probably said no, but I'm from the beautiful island of Jamaica. We produce the greatest runners and the best reggae music and so forth.
Absolutely,
Food, all that.
absolutely. And it is definitely a beautiful country. I have had the pleasure of going to Jamaica twice so far, and I'm actually
Wow.
traveling back there this year. So,
Wow,
welcome.
beautiful.
So tell me, at what age did you immigrate to the United States? And when you did that, did you bring any family members with you?
Okay, well, it's a while back. Remember my migration to USA was like 2000, 2001 in August. That was my original final migration to the USA.
Okay.
In doing so, I didn't plan to come to the USA, but the reason why I did, it was like I had a family tragedy, and I decided to just relocate in USA. And along, my daughter came first. She came like 3 months before I did, and I decided to come join her. And that was the beginning of staying in the USA.
Okay. So I'm sorry to hear that it was the result of a family tragedy. I understand that that probably wasn't easy to navigate through, but thank God you made it. Uh,
Amen. Thank you. Yes, I
you're
did. Yeah.
welcome. So when you sent your daughter and then you came over, so it was more out of necessity, not necessarily a desire.
No, not exactly. It was more like a necessity. That's sure.
Okay. So you and your daughter came. Did anybody else migrate with you?
No, it because I was a single mother at the time, and she was all that I had so close. So it was hard for me to just let her come and be by herself, and I wasn't there to give that support that she needed. Because the time she migrated, she was 15, and she was all the family, like the immediate family I had. So it was hard for me to just let her come by herself. So that was the reason why I came.
Okay, absolutely. So once you made up your mind that 3 months later, after she first arrived, once you made up your mind to come, how was the process for you?
You know what? It was very difficult for me because back home, just a little backstory before I came to the USA. I was a single mom, of course, and back then I had a good job. I was an entrepreneur, so I was doing good. I was really settled. But then as I said, it's a family tragedy. I had to come, and it was difficult. So when I came here, I met up with her dad, and things happened, and the it was difficult because I've missed my family. I miss everything back home, my church family. So it
Yes.
took me a while to get settled, and from my it took me many, many years to be settled.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so I understand you had a full life there. And so your life was abrupted and you had to shift, to do what you needed to do. So when you transition from Jamaica to United States, who is your support system? Do you still have a support system at home? Did you have a support system in the United States? Who helped you navigate through that time?
Okay. My first and foremost support was God Himself, the Almighty God. He, through that process, I was very spiritual because I was like always a believer, and the church family supported me a whole lot spiritually. I was able to navigate through prayers, trusting God, and through the help of my few friends. I didn't have family like that. When I say family, immediate family, as I said.
Mm.
So I was able to get my stuff together. When I say get my stuff together, it took me like about can I not can I my Carrion was 15, like about 3, 4 years before I finally could get my all my stuff together. When I say stuff, when I came here on a visa. So of
Okay.
course you couldn't work having you as a visitor visa. So that kind of prevented me. But however, I had in the back in my mind that I had to go back to school. I had to get a new career, and that was where I my journey of acclimating to the society of USA began. So it took me like about 5 years to get the my paperwork, stuff like that, like my work permits, stuff like that. And I married like about 3 years after I came in the USA. So that kind of helped me. My husband then, he was supportive at the time.
Okay, well, that's good. So you began to gain family support that you didn't have. So through a
Definitely.
relationship, through marriage, and then, like you said,
Yes.
finding a new career. So during that 5 years, when you were getting everything settled and getting in, and that's when you went back to school during that 5 year, first 5 year period.
I would say yes, because I was back then, I used to do accounting because as I said, I had a good job back home. I was a cashier, and I worked myself to accounting. And I was also I used to do entrepreneur, a small business where I buy merchant from different country, like small island like Panama, Curacao, and even the USA. I used to visit back and forth. So I was really set set and had a good church family. So after getting here, like 2001, after 2 years, I had a child out of wedlock again. That was my firstborn daughter. So that relationship didn't work out. So then I met my husband, and then I decided when Kenai, I keep on saying Carrion, the names this sometimes I get mixed up with the names. But
Okay.
Kenaya was the baby. So when Kenaya was like about 6 weeks old, I decided, I have to go to school. And reason being, I was in the accounting field, and my church family back then, my new church family, I should say, the first lady, she saw something in me, and she said, you know what, Sister Nicole, I think you do good in nursing. And I was telling her that, you know what, um I forgot her name, but the first lady, I said, you know what? I have no background in nursing. I was a figure person, and nursing is like completely opposite. So she
Mm-hmm.
said, you know what? That would be a stable job for you, and it could help your family back home in Jamaica. So that's when Kenaya born. She was like 3 weeks old. I get registered with a pre-registered CNA class, and a little story behind that too. She was 3 weeks old, and they had a early registration, first come, first serve. And the class was very competitive. Not only it have limited amount of occupants to take the class, so it was like I think 20 or 24. So that morning I tell my husband then that, you know what, I needed to get into this class so I can continue to get what they get to understand what the nursing feel about. So
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and doctor say, I remember when I go there, I was 3 weeks old, and the registration start like 1 o'clock. And I went there 9 in the morning. And I tell my husband then that, I need to be the first one to register. Reason being that my husband had to go to work 3 o'clock, and 1 o'clock would be like too near of a time. And the crowd wasn't going to be there. So I went there and I told the lady that I'm here to register. So she said, you know what, Nicole, you're here very early and it's 1 o'clock and you're here now. I said, yes, because I want to be number one. And she said, well, you have a long way to wait. So I walked off and then she said, come here, come here. And I said, yes. I said, I like your accent. Where you from? I said, I'm from Jamaica. And she said, you know what? You say you just have a young baby. I'm going to break the rule for you. I'm going to register you first, and you go home,
Awesome.
take care of your baby. And that's how my nursing journey began. And not only that, when I started the class, it was like a 4 weeks class. Then I moved on to the CNA class. And at that time, it was very challenging because I had two babies. I had my son Kimani was 2, and Kenai was like 3 weeks, going 4 weeks, and babysitter challenge. And I went in the class, and I had a lady volunteer Dr. C to babysit the kids while I was at school. So God is just amazing through the process. So that's where my studies began in nursing, and I'm still trying to upgrade myself in the nursing career as well. My husband was very supportive, so that was the process. So it took me from Kenya was born in 2004, so from 2004 so I got there. So it took me like about 5 years to be neutralized between 2001 to 2005. Yeah, five. I became neutralized citizen.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, those two women that you just gave me an example of, that's what I'm talking about. So, when women watch out for other women, so they don't necessarily have to be in your life, somebody that you know and that's around you all the time, but it could just be someone who pops in and pops out. They see a need
Definitely,
and
Dr.
they
C.
feel it. So, even though she said she was going to break the rules, but she had the power to do that. She had the
Amen, sister.
power to make change in your life. And
Yes,
because of that, now you're here to tell the story. And then the same
yes,
thing with the babysitting. And that's how we as women, that's how we can be sisters to one another. We see that a woman needs help in something, so we don't just walk by and say, well, you know what, she needs to figure it out. If we can help, we help. That's what a
yes,
sister is, and that's what this podcast is all about, being a
yes,
keeper for another woman. If you see a need,
yes.
help her out. Why not? So because
Right,
of that,
definitely.
that helped your journey.
Yeah, that helped my journey. It was a blessing. I mean, that show to tell me that during my difficult time, God was all there, always through the trial. He was always through the journey, and I trust Him because, as I said, I'm a believer. I know who God is in the good times and bad times, and even though it seems like endless, I know that God will come through for me, and He did. He did
Absolutely. And sometimes he works in ways that we don't expect. See, sometimes,
definitely.
let's say you did have family here. You probably would be looking to your family like, help me out. But they have jobs, they have lives, they have things that they have to do. But God will bring somebody at the right time when you're least expecting it to give you that hand up that you need. And he did just that. And like we always say, God works in mysterious ways. When we're least
Mysterious.
expecting it, God always has a ram in the bush.
Yes, there you go. That's very true, Dr. C. I agree with that. I have so
Yeah,
many testimonies.
absolutely. So that's
Yeah.
that's so inspiring just to hear about that, because that reminds us when we see somebody in need that we can be that person that helps them out. It may
Yes.
just be that one moment in time, but we have to
Yes.
remember that nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by coincidence. Everything is strategically planned by God to make
Yes,
things
definitely.
happen the way they should. And
Should,
then we
yeah.
just live to tell the testimony.
I'm telling you, I have so many stories to tell about the faithfulness of God through people helping me through my journey.
Absolutely. Okay, so you said it took about those 5 years to become naturalized. So from there, you started your program. And about how long did it take you to become? Are you a registered nurse?
No, so I'm in the process. I have the credential and all that, so I have to go back to school to finish my program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So through this time, you've been raising your children and you've been in the nursing community. And so now you're trying to still elevate.
Yes, and just a little input. I will tell you about my nursing journey. As I said, I had two kids. I'm just showing that, oh, God worked through the process. So
Mhm.
when I started my LVN program, I um I didn't really have the babysitting support. So this is a new program. I was working the night shift. I had two babies. I was going to school full time, Dr. C. And not only that, the class of my year 2007, I think it was 2007, I graduated. And during that process, we have 60 candidates into that program. And out of that 60 candidates, 15 made it to the final. 15%, I mean, 25% make it to the final. That's 15 out of 60. And I
Yeah.
was included in that 15. And not only that, my journey it was hard because during that time, I had a babysitting issue because when you're in nursing school, you cannot even miss a day. So my friend came from Jamaica and helped me partial away, like about 4 months, because she came on a visitor visa. And during that 4 months now, I'm in like April and the program finished August. So here I'm worrying after 4 months, after 8 months of the program, my friend was going back home to Jamaica. Now I'm out with a babysitter. So a coworker of mine, she knew my situation that I'm going to need a babysitter soon, and I don't know where. Mind you, I don't have friends like that, so I'm the only person from my family really migrated, the first person to
Mhm.
migrate to the USA, and with my daughter. So then she's telling me one night, I was working the night shift, and she said, Nicole, I have news for you. So I didn't know what she's talking about. I have news for me. So when I got my break, I went over and she said, guess what? I get you a babysitter. I said, what? You get me a babysitter? Oh, that happened. So she said, Nicole, my mom coming back from Colorado to live full time. And when she reached home, the first thing she have asked me, do you know anybody that need a babysitter?
Oh.
And that was for free, Dr. C. I
Oh,
mean, when I
wow.
say free, she charged me like maybe like 10% of the baby fee. And she was
Wow.
living two doors down. No, she was living away. That's afterwards she moved. She was living in the same area. So all I had to do, get the baby ready to school, to her, and my husband would pick them up in the afternoon, in the late night when I have the clinical. So God
Mhm.
is amazing.
Yes, that's awesome. So first, not only the babysitter that the friend's mother, but your friend that came from another country to be
Yes,
here. That's amazing.
amazing.
That is amazing. Oh wow. It reminds me of when I bought my house in the high desert and I moved away from family. Of course, they were still in California, but now I was in a new city
Yes.
and two sons. And I had a neighbor who said, I drive by your house every morning when I get off work. She worked the graveyard shift and she got off
Yes.
at 7 o'clock in the morning. She would drive by my house, pick up my sons, and take them to school.
That's a blessing.
Oh, God will do it. He
That is
knows what the
amazing.
need is. But you
You
know
know
what?
what?
He can't be afraid to step out on faith because you could have not entered into those programs because of the
Yes.
challenges you were going to face. But you didn't do
Yes.
that. You went forward anyway, and God made
Yes.
a way.
Amen, sister. Yes, he did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's awesome. Okay, so tell us what happened next. Because this is awesome.
So, yeah, so I'm telling you now. So that happened. So now my friend said, oh, my mom will babysit the baby for free. So I had to take the baby. And after the 4 months, I was thinking I would have to stop the nursing program and work enough money to babysit the kids. But that wasn't the plan for the Lord. So with that said, I was able to finish the nursing program and then I was able to I got my nursing license and here am I today. And I'm still working. Still work in progress.
Absolutely. But that is so awesome that you were able to have a new dream, having your previous life disrupted, coming to a new land, not having the
Yes.
family support, but God put people in your path. And I know that God will give us more family. Family is not
Yeah.
only related by blood and marriage, but God will give us more family. to
That's
take
so
care of
true.
us, that we can care for, that can love us, we can love them, and they fill in the gap, they fill in the need. So that is so awesome to hear. So now, being how many years now has it been? You said since 2001,
Yes,
right?
so going 24 years this year.
24 years. So,
Yes.
what advice would you give to someone else who may find themselves in a similar situation where they're switching one continent to another? What advice would you give that person who is going through a transition?
Well, personally, based on my experience and the challenges I have encountered, I would tell that person that coming to another country, you have to have some form of support. You have to have a plan. You have to have a goal. So you have to have a plan, maybe plan A, plan B, plan C, because it was a culture shock. It was a culture shock for me coming here because I have to deal with a lot of different culture. So like for one example, I mean, you're moving from a different country, coming here, like in my culture, looking in the face, in someone's face is being disrespectful. And when I
Mm,
came here, I had to learn that. And I was saying that was really this. So I had to realize that the American culture is very professional when somebody speak to you to look direct eyeball to eyeball in the person's face. So I have to adapt to that principle. I have to adapt to like the new names. Like back in my culture, they will address you as Miss or Mister. You know, here they would say, and we say good morning. Here they just address you as your first name. And it was so offensive for me because growing up in my culture, the discipline that my mom instilled with us, and when I say it also my siblings as well, it was so hard to transition and respect someone belief, not because you're from a different country, you want to show your belief. You have to be respectful for someone belief, and God, the foremost center, of course. You have to have God with you all the way through.
absolutely. And I think that's really the first step, especially if the person is a believer, is hold on to your faith. Hold on to your
Yes,
faith. Never let go of the hand of God, because He will absolutely guide you. Because His word tells us, I will never leave you, nor will I forsake you. So He's going to
yes,
walk with us throughout the journey. And whatever we have need of, He's going to supply the need.
definitely.
So, and
Yes,
your
definitely. I
testimony is
agree.
a perfect testimony of that, of what God will
Definitely.
do in a trying
Yes,
situation in a foreign land, because we read
yes,
about that all the time in the Bible. So you had to go
yes,
through that experience,
yes,
leaving your home to go to a foreign land and make that foreign land your home. So
yes.
now that you've been here 24 years, is there a support, a family support, or a group of women that support you in your endeavors today?
Okay, yes, there were so many sisters that supported me. For example, my mom, my mom, the queen. She supported me along the transition because after I settled down, I was able to petition for her. She came in like 16 years ago, and through that process to upgrading my education, she supported me. As I said, the church family was a big thing. I'm always for the church, so the church family support me, and I have few friends. Like I have like two home girl here. I've learned the language home girl because back home we know it's like home girl. But my two home girl, they were able to support me, give me encouragement, sustain me. The priors too sustained me because back home, my pastor used to tell us when you don't have problem, that's the time you have to pray because those prayer that you pray, you store it up. And I didn't understand what he meant until I was in a situation I could
Yes.
have reached out that storage prayer. That's what kept me. And as I said, sisterhood, my daughter was part of the journey too. My firstborn, my mom, and I was able, and not only that, few of my siblings is here now. My like four sisters, they're here, and I made the journey easier for them. And
Awesome.
and not only for them, if my friends, I kind of encourage them, this is what you need to do, get yourself, educate yourself, go back to school, upgrade yourself. So I'm still a work in progress.
Absolutely. But now that you've gone through it, you can share, like you said, your experiences and help someone else. Absolutely.
Yes,
Because you were the first trendsetter. You were the waymaker. So
Yes,
that was awesome that everything that you endured and that God saw you through. Now you can share that testimony. Absolutely. And that's why I'm so thankful that you were willing to come on to the podcast, because we
yes,
never know who's going to watch, who's listening, who's in
yes,
what situation, but your testimony will absolutely give them that encouragement that they need.
yes,
They can make it.
yes, can make it. Because as I said in Philippians 4 verse 13, if I'm not corrected, with God all things I can do all things with Christ that strengthen me, and that's what I used to as a
Yes.
tool to get by.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that we can see from your testimony is lean not to your own understanding, but acknowledge God in all of your ways, and
Yes,
He will direct your
yes,
paths. So you didn't know what to do. You just knew you needed a shift, and you did
yes,
that. And God was able to keep your arms held up and give you the strength
yes,
and the encouragement that you needed. And now you can tell the story.
yes, Dr. Sienna, and it's just a blessing. It's a blessing.
It is. And I'm glad that even though you were settled and you had a good life, you were able to transition and still have a good life. You didn't have to, go from what you had to nothing. God said, no, I still have more for you. So it's good that that first lady saw something in you. And so do you absolutely love your career?
Oh, I amazing. And you know what, Dr. C? Oh, okay. So may I explore on that? Maybe I leave out a little part of my journey. At one point, I was homeless. So, and God kept me. He kept me through that process too. So I've been there, done that, and I held the faith. And the nursing care has been amazing. It's like treating your mom. When each patient, I see a mom, I see a brother, I see a sister, I see a child. And it's been amazing, Dr. C. And now, 24 years later, I'm not even thinking about doing accounting no more. I'm stuck in the nursing field and I love it. I would not trade it for nothing else.
That's
I
good.
love
That's good. And I've heard great things about you as a nurse. And
Oh,
people,
really?
yes, I have. I've heard great things about you as a nurse. And people talk about just the gifting that you have and the love that you show. So,
Yes,
yeah, God definitely had a calling on your life for the
yes, thank
field.
you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that, doctor.
So I
I
pray
know
that as you continue to move forward from LVN to RN, that God will encourage you. He would open up doors to get you
yes,
exactly where you want to go. And even if there
yes,
are some hurdles along the way, that He's going to be there with you.
yes,
He's brought you this far, and He is not
yes.
going to leave you now.
Amen. Thank you, Sister Dr. C. I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. You are welcome. So thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of Sisters Keeper podcast. And I pray God's continued blessings upon you and your life and your family as well.
Thank you, Dr. C. And I wish you all the best through your Sisterhood platform. You're a great inspiration to us all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You take care, and I will be talking with you soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Well, we have concluded another episode of Sisters Keeper podcast. I am so excited about what we just heard from Miss Nicole. She is a great inspiration to anyone who is transitioning from another continent, from another country over to the United States. I pray God's blessings upon you, and may you be encouraged for everything that God has for you in this new season of your life. God bless you.